We're back on Get Up, 2 days to the draft. I've got quarterback questions. Hey, D. Wood, is this an all-in season for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati?
It better be. I mean, all the moves at the Cincinnati Bengals. When's the last time the Cincinnati Bengals made these type of moves on the defensive side of football?
Yeah.
We've been talking about with Joe Burrow. It hasn't been the offense. It's been on the defense. And you go out there and make a trade for Dexter Lawrence and all the other pieces. Mafe, all those guys on defense. Absolutely. He needs to stay healthy. This is their season.
It'll be interesting to watch that team this year. Mike T, let's go to Buffalo. Does Josh Allen have enough weapons now with DJ Moore on his side?
No, they are improved. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Khalil Shakir, DJ Moore. That is a good group. It's not a championship group. Go draft a wide receiver. How about Denzel Boston in the first round? Let's give Josh Allen an elite group of receivers so they can take it to the next level and get to the Super Bowl.
Denzel Boston, big and physical. You remember his dad was a great NFL player. Peter, is Caleb Williams in Chicago equipped to make an MVP run?
Absolutely. He knocked on the door last year in year number 2. It looks like he was ahead of schedule, and now it's all on a platter for him. Everyone is no longer looking at the Bears as this upstart team. They're looking at them as one of those teams that are coming for it. I think that the Chicago Bears are very much in the conversation for NFC champion, and he is certainly in the MVP conversation.
He's certainly thinking that way. He's looking to build off the success he had in Chicago last year with bigger goals. I want you to hear what he said yesterday about what he is looking for this year.
I want to be the best. I want to go win. I want to be, as we call it, a world champion, a Super Bowl champion. I want to be the best Bear quarterback, best quarterback. And so my goals, yes, that was a good stepping stone for me, but, that wasn't the last stepping stone. And so being able to grow off of last year, be able to progress in ways that I want to, that last year wasn't really anything. It was a good year, and we got many more good years coming up.
Well, if you want to know anything about the Chicago Bears, the gentleman seated to my left knows as much as can be known. It's been a very long time since I think that there's been a feeling around this team, because I lived there and worked there for all those years. In the mid-'80s, obviously, that's one of the all-time great teams. Since then, they've made a Super Bowl. They've had some good teams. I don't think there's ever been a feeling quite like the one there is right now. Is this team ready to take the next step?
I don't know, Greeny. It's going to be difficult. You remember all those games they won. By the way, this season was magical. I don't know that you usually say magical when a team, loses a playoff game, second round. But it was magical the way they won it. Ben Johnson's enthusiasm. Caleb sounding all the right notes the entire season. But that defense was bad. Other than turning people over, which they did better than any team in the league, that defense, when it came to stopping the run, couldn't. That team, in terms of pass defense, wasn't very good. They've got some needs. These games were unbelievable the way they ended, and I was at a lot of them. And the night they lost to the Rams, ultimately, after that pass, it was an end of something that was joyous. You lived and worked
Sure,
there.
yeah.
You don't describe Bears seasons too often as joyous, but that happened with the way they won those games as consistently as they did. Now what? They could get better and not win as many games in that division. I look at their schedule. They're probably going to start in Seattle, on a Thursday night or a Sunday night or a Monday night or something, and they've got this
Wednesday
incredible.
night.
Yeah, the first game is a Wednesday.
Is it a Wednesday?
Seattle is, yeah.
So what do? They need a pass rusher. They need a safety. They're not in cap hell, but they're challenged with the amount they've got left. I think less than any other team in the league. Peter would know better than I would about that. So the Bears have some I don't want to call them holes. They have some needs. How many of those can they address in an adequate way, Mike T, to make that next step?
Well, the person sitting to your left always reminds me how important it is to have a really good offensive line, or in his case, an expensive offensive line. But, Greeny, to use your line, sneaky big news. Ozzie Trapillo had a really bad injury.
He did, yeah.
And, to me, that becomes a must to go draft an offensive line, because you have to protect Caleb Williams. He's everything in the future. So before you take a step forward, I think you got to fortify the line on Thursday night.
Draft's going to be really interesting. I think there's going to be a big run on offensive tackles around 17 to 24, 25. The Bears sit at 25. So if they want a tackle, a Caden Proctor, or even going and getting Jacob Lamu, you have to maybe trade up to get one of those players. If they sit pretty where they're at right now, there will be pass rushers, there will be defensive backs, but they're not top-tier players. This draft, it feels like there's 20 guys, and then after 20, it sort of falls off, and that's where the Bears are in the draft.
Here's why I'm optimistic about the Bears. And you point out a lot of really good things, a lot of things about last year that aren't sustainable. But there's something that Ben Johnson said that I think tells me he gets it. The fact that he said that last year doesn't matter anymore. Last year is the past. We have to reset and start it all over again. Bill Belichick used to tell us all the time, last year's team is totally different from next year's team. And when he starts planting that seed in those guys' heads and understand that what we did, that magical season last year, has no bearing on what the outcome is going to be this year, to me, that's how you start building sustainable success with the organization.
And I think the next step that Caleb Williams can take. Caleb Williams did the impossible things really well last year. Sometimes he didn't do the easy things as well as he could.
Singles.
He gets that cleaned up. He gets that cleaned up. He's going to be as good as
over
anybody.
the middle for 7 yards on 3rd and 6. And
Yes.
I'm going to take that miracle throw. But there's so many times that the routine he didn't seem interested in. And I say that, look, Caleb Williams, you realize that the Bears' best quarterback statistically ever is Jay Cutler, which is a frightening realization.
Right.
So when Caleb says, I want to be the best ever, he didn't have all that far to go.
Right.
But there's some routine things. And by the way, DJ Moore, I would have done that trade 10 times out of 10 for the second-round pick in Buffalo. But you still got to replace him. And you got to replace
Luther Burden.
By the way, a franchise that cares about its toughness as much as anything, you can't walk the halls of Hallis Hall without caring about the toughness and seeing pictures of Butkus and Sayers and all these guys. DJ Moore was tough. And so you take him out of that room. How do you replace that spirit? There's a lot. It's
a big question. I have to let Mr. Wilbon go. He'll be on First Take later today. What a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Great Michael Wilbon. All morning long, he'll be with Stephen A. and company in about a half hour. Meanwhile, we go Game 3 because I'll be doing round 1 of the draft while it's going on. But I'll be very interested to hear what happens. Much more hoops as we go. But speaking of the draft, let me get my football crew in here. Let me get Peter Schrager with his notebook open here. 2 days from the start of the draft. I've got 3 picks up at the top I'm fascinated by. Peter, let's start at number 2. The New York Jets, after Mendoza goes 1, what are we hearing about the Jets' plans at 2?
It's going to be Arvell Reese or David Bailey, and I'm going with David Bailey, and it doesn't come from the Jets. I'll be honest, biggest takeaway from this entire pre-draft process has been how it has been lock and key in Florham Park. No leaks out of that building. Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn said their pre-draft press conference. Nothing revealed there either. But David Bailey, to me, is the more polished pass rusher. And around the league, the expectation is the Jets are going to take the guy who can play now over the project who is 20 years old.
Okay, let's then jump to the Giants at 5. They've got 5 and 10. What are we hearing?
The project who is 20 years old, Arvell Reese, might very well slip to 5. If the Cardinals go offense and if the Titans take Sonny Styles, 5 could be Arvell Reese's home to the Giants. I would also look at Jordan Tyson. The smoke is real there. As we detailed in the first hour, Joe Shane, the general manager, traveled out there to Arizona last week, 6 days before the NFL draft. Not only attended his workout and where he was awesome, he also took him out to dinner the night before. There is real love there, and he might not be sitting there at 10. They might have to take him at 5 if they really want Jordan Tyson.
And so then let us take the circuitous route back to 3, because I'll take everyone behind the scenes. I posted on Twitter on Sunday, I think that the first real fulcrum point of this draft is at 4. And you tweeted back at me, Greeny, don't forget about 3. Why?
Greeny and I are friends in real life and on Twitter, folks. And in this case, I was tweeting him that because 3 is a spot where the Cardinals are accepting exploratory phone calls, and there is a consideration they could trade back with so many holes on their roster. That said, despite having James Conner and Tyler Algier and other running backs in that room, the thought around the league is that the Arizona Cardinals, to give them the most offensive firepower as possible, are the landing spot for Jeremiah Love, a running back, 3rd overall in 2026, a very real possibility.
You're a general manager. If you're the Arizona Cardinals and you need almost everything, does it make sense to take, albeit a great one, a running back at 3?
I don't think so. I would go with either Arvell Reese or David Bailey. They, as you said, they need help everywhere, but get that pass rush solidified. You really don't know who your quarterback's going to be. And I think there was a really instructive lesson last year when Ashton Genty went to the Raiders, extremely talented. Raiders had challenges on their offensive line. Cardinals still have some holes on their offensive line. I don't think this is the time or the place for Jeremiah Love in Arizona.
By the way, I meant to ask you one other thing. The trade talks, with the Cardinals at 3. Would that be Love teams would be coming up to get?
It could be Love, who is viewed as the #1 offensive prospect in this draft by a mile, or it could be for the Reese Bailey, who doesn't go to #2 overall to the New York Jets.
What do you think of it if you're a running back? If you're a team like the Cardinals, does it make sense to take Jeremiah Love?
No, and he's the best prospect in this draft. But when you have all the needs that the Arizona Cardinals have, it just doesn't make sense when you have guys that you've added to the roster at the running back position. Go out there and get difference makers at other positions.
So, Mr. Wilbon, you have watched Gale Sayers, and you have watched Walter Payton,
Yes.
and you have watched all the great running
Yes.
backs. I just named the 2 greatest of the Bears running
Yes.
backs.
And
all
2 of the
these
greatest
great
of
running
all
backs.
time.
Does it make sense in your view? You know what the conversation is. I know how you feel about analytics. I know how much you enjoy those. How do we feel about this new theory? No, it's not a theory. The absolute belief now in the league that you cannot. The value says you don't take a running back this high.
I've listened and I've been moved a lot by what you guys have talked about.